Have you ever left work feeling completely drained, like you've given way more than you've gotten back? Maybe you shrug it off, telling yourself, that's just how it is, or I'll prove myself eventually. But what if I told you that you might be giving away your time, energy, and even your self-respect without even realizing it? Work should be a two-way street. You contribute your skills, and in return, you get fair compensation, respect, and opportunities to grow. But sometimes, the balance tips, and before you know it, you're the one always staying late, taking on extra tasks without recognition, or feeling guilty for saying no. And here's the thing, it's not always obvious. Many people don't realize they're being taken advantage of until they're burned out or resentful. That's why today, we're talking about the 5 warning signs that you might be giving more than you're getting at work. Whether you're a new employee eager to impress or a seasoned worker who's always been the reliable one, this is for you. Because knowing these signs isn't about being paranoid, it's about making sure you're treated fairly. So let's start with the first one. You're always the go-to for extra work, without extra rewards. You know the drill. A last-minute project comes in, and your boss's first instinct is to turn to you. At first, it feels good, being trusted, being needed. But over time, you notice that while others leave at 5 p.m., you're the one always picking up the slack. And when raises or promotions come up, suddenly, it's budget constraints or let's wait a little longer. Here's the problem, if you're always the one stepping up but never the one being recognized, that's not a coincidence. It's a pattern. And if you don't set boundaries, it'll keep happening. Now, the second sign is a little sneakier. You feel guilty for taking time off. Do you hesitate before using your vacation days? Do you check emails constantly while you're supposed to be relaxing? Maybe your team jokes about how no one can do your job but you, making you feel like you can't step away. That's not normal. Paid time off is part of your compensation. It's not a favor your employer is doing for you. If you feel like you're letting people down by using it, that's a red flag. And here's the thing, this guilt doesn't come from nowhere. Often, workplaces, sometimes unintentionally, create a culture where employees feel like they have to over-deliver just to be seen as good enough. But constantly sacrificing your personal time isn't sustainable. Which brings us to our third sign, your workload keeps growing, but your role doesn't. You started with a clear job description, but over time, you've taken on more responsibilities, maybe even tasks that used to belong to someone else. And yet, your title and pay haven't changed. This is called scope creep, and it's one of the most common ways employers take advantage of hard workers. Think about it, if you're doing the work of 2 people but being paid for 1, why would they hire someone else? It's not malicious in every case, sometimes managers just don't notice how much you're doing, but it's still unfair. Now, I know what some of you might be thinking, but if I push back, won't I seem difficult? That's exactly the fear that keeps people stuck in this cycle. But here's the truth, advocating for yourself isn't being difficult. It's being professional. And that's where we'll pick up next time, because the last 2 signs are just as important, especially if you've ever felt like speaking up might cost you more than it's worth. Let's pick up where we left off. You've started noticing that your workload keeps expanding, your time off feels like a privilege rather than a right, and you're always the one picking up extra tasks. But here's the thing, those aren't the only signs that you might be getting the short end of the stick at work. The 4th warning sign is a big one. You're constantly told how lucky you are to be there. Ever heard something like, you know, a lot of people would kill for this job, or not everyone gets opportunities like this? On the surface, it might sound like praise, but there's a darker undertone. Phrases like these are often used to make employees feel like they should be grateful for whatever they get, even if it's less than they deserve. Think about it. If you're being reminded how replaceable you are anytime you ask for a raise, more support, or better conditions, that's not gratitude, that's control. A healthy workplace doesn't make you feel like you owe them for employing you. They recognize your value and compensate you fairly for it. And this ties into our 5th and final warning sign. Your contributions are overlooked, but your mistakes are magnified. You've probably been here before. You work hard, go above and beyond, and when something goes right, it's a team effort. But the second something goes wrong, suddenly, it's all on you. Maybe you've even had a boss take credit for your ideas or watched someone else get praised for work you did. This is more than just frustrating, it's demoralizing. When your effort is invisible but your slip-ups are highlighted, it creates a dynamic where you feel like you can never do enough. And over time, that erodes your confidence. Now, you might be wondering, okay, but what do I do about it? Because here's the reality, most people don't speak up because they're afraid of rocking the boat. They worry they'll be labeled as difficult or even risk losing their job. But here's the thing, you don't have to choose between being a pushover and being confrontational. There's a middle ground, advocating for yourself professionally. For example, if you're always the one taking on extra work, try this. The next time you're assigned something outside your role, say, "I'm happy to help, but I want to make sure we're aligning on priorities. Right now, I'm working on X and Y. Which of these should I deprioritize to take this on?" This forces a conversation about workload instead of silently absorbing it. Or if you're being underpaid compared to your responsibilities, research salary benchmarks for your role. Sites like Glassdoor can help, then schedule a talk with your manager. Frame it as, "I've taken on these additional responsibilities, and based on market rates, I'd like to discuss adjusting my compensation to reflect that." The key is to approach these conversations calmly and factually, not emotionally. You're not complaining, you're problem solving. But what if you try these things and nothing changes? Well, that's when you have to ask yourself, is this a temporary issue or a pattern? Because if you've spoken up, set boundaries, and still see no effort to meet you halfway, it might be time to consider whether this workplace truly values you. And that's where we'll go next, because realizing you're being taken advantage of is one thing, but deciding what to do about it, that's where the real power lies. So far, we've talked about the warning signs, the extra work without reward, the guilt around time off, the expanding workload, the "you're lucky to be here" messaging, and the uneven recognition. Now, let's talk about what comes next. Because realizing you're being taken advantage of can feel like a gut punch. It's frustrating, maybe even a little embarrassing, like, how did I not see this sooner? But here's what I want you to remember, this isn't about blame. It's about awareness. And awareness is the first step toward making a change. So let's talk about your options. First, you can negotiate for better terms. If you love your job but just feel undervalued, it's worth having a direct conversation. Gather evidence of your contributions, completed projects, positive feedback, market salary data, and schedule a meeting with your manager. Say something like, "I really enjoy working here, and I want to continue contributing at a high level. To do that, I need X," whether that's a salary adjustment, clearer boundaries on workload, or more recognition. Sometimes, all it takes is speaking up. Other times, you might hit a wall. And that's when you have to ask, is this a battle worth fighting, or is it time to move on? Because here's the hard truth, some workplaces have cultures that won't change, no matter how much you advocate for yourself. If you've tried setting boundaries and nothing shifts, or if speaking up leads to retaliation, like being excluded or passed over for promotions, then staying might cost you more than leaving. I know, that's scary. Especially if you're early in your career or in a tough job market. But think of it this way, every minute you spend in a role that drains you is a minute you're not spending somewhere that could uplift you. Now, I'm not saying quit tomorrow without a plan. Be strategic. Update your resume, network quietly, and explore opportunities. You don't have to jump ship at the first offer, but knowing your options gives you power. And finally, let's talk about the biggest lesson here. Your worth isn't determined by your job. It's so easy to tie our self-esteem to our work, to feel like if we're not overgiving, we're not valuable. But that's a trap. You are worthy of fair pay, respect, and balance, no matter what. So if you took one thing from this video, let it be this: pay attention to how your job makes you feel. If you're constantly exhausted, resentful, or small, that's not just how work is. That's a sign something's off. And you have the power to change it, whether that's by speaking up, setting boundaries, or moving on. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever realized you were being taken advantage of at work? How did you handle it? Your story might help someone else going through the same thing. And if this video resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more honest conversations about work, success, and standing up for yourself. Because you deserve a career that gives back as much as you put in. Thanks for watching, and remember, you're not just an employee. You're a person with value, both in and out of the office. Don't let anyone make you forget that.